You are now tuned in to Urban Exegesis Studios with your host, Dr. Derek Cologne.
Man, I mean, look, I look at this whole thing. It's a continuum from what the Afro-Cuban bands brought in the late 10s, early 1920s at the tango cafes in New York City. You know, there was a certain sound and a certain movement to that sound. This goes back to the plena, goes back to bomba, goes back to danza. You know what I'm saying? Goes back to palenque. Goes back to all these Latin, these Afro-Latin, Afro-Caribbean movements that do not necessarily correlate to what African Americans were doing in the United States. Yeah, you had, if you go back to the 1500s, you had the Spanish colonies and the French colonies in the U.S. that have their African slaves, and these are slaves that came from Cuba, from Haiti, and brought some of these things to the United States, but they were cut short. You know what I'm saying? Once this becomes the U.S., once those colonies are ended, that attachment is no longer there. We're the ones that retain this, that we're allowed to retain it. So this comes into New York City over 100 years ago. Then this impacts jazz, okay? It impacts jazz. This is why you have Dizzy Gillespie, this is why you have Manteca, this is why you have all this new sound coming up, a cross-pollination of cultures and music and sounds. You can hear this in doo-wop music, you know what I'm saying? Because there's Puerto Ricans doing doo-wop. Then you have the whole movement of funk and the soul and the R&B. And this is a different kind of dance. You go into the 70s, you got the B-boy anthems. The Puerto Ricans are all in it, to quote my man, Track 2. We're all in it. So we're bringing in movements, hip movements on the ground as we're doing circular footwork, you know, clockwise and counterclockwise. You know what I'm saying? We're doing transitions into freezes and movements that are different. I mean, I talk about the foundational b-boy movements that are different from some of the other b-boy styles that don't have a transitional style or hip or rotational movements. Those come specifically from Latin styles of dancing. You know what I'm saying? You might see Roberto Roena doing some of this stuff. You know what I'm saying? Early on, you know what I'm saying? We're not looking at no black and white films of this one or that one. You know, we barely had 4 channels back then. You know what I'm saying? TV used to go off, 11 o'clock, 11:30 at night back in the day? We didn't have cable, we didn't have YouTube, we didn't have none of that. We're looking at ourselves. Our inspiration is us. We're impacting each other. You know what I'm saying? We're looking at what our uncles did, what our older cousins did, what our brothers did. And this is where we get it from. You know what I'm saying? And other people as well, you know, are getting it from us. They're looking at us saying, yo, hold on, what's this guy doing? Why that music sounds like that? Why, you know? And DJs are listening to this. Musicians are listening to this. They want to learn how to play a bongo. They want to play a conga. If not, none of those genres would even bother having that music. So that Latin breakdown, that Latin groove, that Latin soul just hits you like a left hook from Trinidad, bro. You can't escape it. It's all us, man.